It's now time for the Weekly with News 6 morning anchor Justin Warmoth.
This is the Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
After weeks of testimony, the jury in the trial of Noor Salman delivered their verdict Friday morning. Not guilty.
When we looked at all of the facts, all of the truth, it was clear that she didn't know.
The Pulse gunman's wife acquitted on both charges that she aided and abetted her husband in carrying out the Pulse nightclub attack in June of 2016.
I just was in shock.
She should have been found guilty. She knew exactly what he was doing. She knew the ammunition he was buying.
After more than a year in jail, Salman now moving on to continue her life with her 5-year-old son.
He wants his mommy to come color the eggs with him for Easter.
This morning, News 6 reporters who covered this trial from the beginning will join me on the Weekly, starting first with News 6 reporter Nadine Yanis. And Nadine, you were in the courtroom. Take us through the moment that not guilty verdict was delivered by the jury.
Justin, before that even happened, you could feel the emotion inside that courtroom. We got the alert that the jury had reached a verdict about 30 minutes before it was read. And while we were sitting in there waiting for the jury to come out, you could already feel the emotion. Noor Salman sitting at the defense table, her hands physically shaking. One of her attorneys, Fritz Scheller, put his arm over her hands, reassuring her. Not a single word being spoken inside that courtroom, and there didn't need to be a word spoken. You could feel the emotion. Noor Salman was nervous, and then her family walked in before the judge did at this point, and she looked at them, and that's when I could really tell she began to start freaking out a little bit about the moment that this jury would have decided her fate, and in this case, not guilty. So the jury came in, not a single one of them looked at her. They sat down, they handed over the verdict form, the judge accepted it, and then his court reporter read it out loud. It was quick, couple minutes. First count, aiding and abetting, not guilty. Second count, obstruction of justice, not guilty. Audible gasp inside that courtroom from Noor Salman's defense team, her family. They began to immediately hold each other and start crying. Noor Salman, the first thing she did when she heard that not guilty was turned and make eye contact with her family. And that's when you saw her face red, sobbing in tears of joy. Her attorneys also smiling. They were also crying. Linda Moreno asking Judge Byron to go to a sidebar, and her voice was shaking, crying with happiness. And her attorney, Charles Swift, saying, justice was done, pumping his fists in the courtroom. An amazing moment of happiness from the Noor Salman team. And with anything, when it comes to a case like this, a trial, there will be the other side, the disappointment. We saw Barbara Poma, Pulse nightclub owner, come out of the courthouse. She didn't say anything. Her body language spoke volumes, though. She was not happy with this verdict. Talk about what you've been able to see from that side, from the Pulse families and some of the victims who were able to make it in there. Right, and there were several of them inside, including Pulse owner Barbara Poma was there, and several more victims' families than we've seen throughout the entire trial. When that verdict of not guilty came out, when you heard cries and gasps of joy on the left side of the courtroom, behind Noor Salman, to the right, you heard silence sitting behind the prosecution team, stoic faces of Pulse victims and family members not showing any reaction at all, maybe in shocked, maybe just had a stone face on, not realizing that some may not ever get the closure that they wanted, at least in this case when it comes to Noor Salman. So not much of a reaction inside the courtroom. It wasn't until after I walked out, Justin, and after they started coming out, that you started seeing the tears well up in the eyes of many of these Pulse families and survivors. Barbara Poma had tears in her eyes, and usually she'll acknowledge me and give me a smile. She would not even make eye contact with me. Another mom whose daughter was shot and survived, she's been here every single day of the trial. And this was a moment that really struck with me. She approached Fritz Scheller, Noor Salman's defense attorney, and he grabbed her hand, and Noor Salman's defense attorney reassuring a Pulse victim. In a moment, I'm not sure what he was saying to her. You could tell that Pulse survivor's mom was not happy with the verdict, that they wanted closure, and Noor Salman's defense to come and bring some of that closure was just a powerful moment as we walked out of that courtroom today. And Nadine, I know you've been inside the courtroom every day of the trial. You've seen
the different Noor Salmans based on day to day. How was she at the start of the trial, maybe towards the middle half of this trial, and then obviously elation at the end, but leading up, have you seen the same Noor Salman or have you seen different Noor Salmans?
Well, in the beginning, she always really seemed cool as a cucumber. She would talk to her attorneys. My understanding is that she has been by herself in jail in solitary for 23 hours a day. So in the beginning, it looked like she was happy to have any interaction, especially with Linda Moreno, one of her defense attorneys, whom she really gravitated through this trial. Towards the end of the trial, though, when the testimony of the defense started talking about Omar Mateen cheating on her, started talking about how she's not the brightest person, she has a low IQ, you could see that was wearing on her. That was after days of testimony. She did not seem happy. Her family said she seemed a little bit embarrassed, but today was obviously the most nervous I had ever seen her. She looks tired. I know those sketches show her as somewhat of like a Disney princess character of herself. That's the term we've been using amongst ourselves out here, but she is tired. She has bags under her eyes, and you could tell that this is really worn down on her, and after a year and a half almost of being in jail, she's now able to go free.
Inside the courtroom, you were the only person other than other media and viewers of court to see the jury through this entire process. Whittled it down from 600 or so to 18, 12 plus the 6 alternates. Your view of them, what did you think, and how do they carry themselves?
Well, from the beginning, in jury selection, which was 8 days long, Justin, 104 potential jurors questioned by Judge Byron, so many of them expressed that they understood the weight of this decision. Many of them were like, I don't even want to be on this jury because this is such a big burden to have. And that's when Judge Byron said, yes, it is a huge decision, but that is a privilege of a citizen to sit on a case like this. And the moment that resonated with the final 12, they took it so incredibly serious, Justin. I know that the defense said that they were appreciative with how committed the jury was. And I would agree with that because there were some graphic images and a horrifying video from inside the nightclub, pictures of Mateen dead, that would make any person squirm or squeamish. But this jury never showed any reaction. They had a poker face the entire trial with their notebooks in hand. They never shook their head. They never disagreed. They listened to every time each side took the stand to talk to them. They listened to every witness. They
had to digest a whole lot of evidence. Nadine, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Speaking of evidence, Mike DeForest, News 6 investigator Mike DeForest, and our News 6 legal expert Jason Johnson of the Lowndes law firm will join us right after this to break down some of those key pieces of evidence. Keep it here.